My dear friends, wanted to learn bow tie analysis and planning to attend bow tie workshop? If yes, this video is for you. Welcome to B Spice. This is Bala with you. In this session, we will be talking about bow tie analysis. So, before going into the detail, I'll just touch upon what is bow tie analysis. Bow tie analysis is to provide a holistic overview of how a major accident hazard, we call it as a MAH, scenario is managed, and also to propose recommendation for identified inadequacies. That is the meaning actually. Okay. So if you look at this, bow tie analysis, as you can see here, friends, the potential cause, right? Then you have the control mechanism. Okay, then this is your potential outcome. Then you have the mitigation, recovery, right? For example, take the case of this potential cause. For example, you can consider, like a water system, right? So water quality, okay. So if water quality means, turbidity or bromate formation, all these, okay. So what should be your prevention control methodology? So we should have an online analyzer, water sampling, all these, right? Yes. Then when we talk about the outcome, so what is the outcome? So if the water quality issue is there, the public will, health will be affected, right? So what could be the mitigation? So we need to have a, what do you call, contingency plan. Okay, so meaning, protocol for flushing and disinfection of the isolated network section of contaminated, potable water, right? And also chlorine dioxide injection through a bromate control system. So those are the mitigation, right? So the major hazard, the event is, this is about the unacceptable quality, water quality issue. So it's basically a regulatory non-compliance, right? So that is how we need to carry out. So one way we need to come out with the potential cause and the prevention. Then what is the consequence and what is the mitigation? So this all about the bow tie analysis. I'm going to talk about this session on the concept friends, basic concept basically. Okay. Uh, Basic concept in the sense we'll talk about intro, we'll talk about the objective, and we'll talk about the analysis methodology, and which we'll talk about the MAH identification. Then we will talk about the overview of the bow tie. MAH in the sense it's a major accident hazard. Okay. Then we have a key elements to consider while developing the bow tie. What are all the key elements we should focus on? Under which we have hazards, top event and consequence and threat barrier, prevention and mitigation, and of course the escalation factor and escalation factor control, bow tie workshop team, all these. Okay. Then the steps for execution of development of the bow tie. What are all the steps involved? Then finally the report and the conclusion. These are the topic for this session. Basically, this is a bit lengthy session and I seek all your support, friends. And I have put in a lot of efforts. So if you like this video, show your support by liking or by subscribing, or if possible, share with your friends who also interested in knowing the biotech technology. Okay, friends, let's go into the details. This is basically some example actually. This is how it looks actually, as I explained earlier. So this is more of a intro. I'll only talk about intro here. Okay. So bow tie analysis is to provide a holistic overview, right, of how each matter as accident hazard scenario is managed, and also to propose recommendation for identified inadequacies. So this is how all these causes, and this is your control actually, and this is your major event, that is about the water quality. Then you have a outcome, basically public health, and this all the bromide control, all this mitigation. Okay, friends, so this is how the bow tie analysis is carried out. So we will be talking again only on the concept actually. So you can make use of this concept and attend the workshop, right, for you to understand more, right? Okay. Now, what is the objective? Okay. So the intention of bow tie exercise is to develop detailed, comprehensive bow tie diagram, similar to what we have seen in the previous slide, which are to be dynamic in nature and can be regularly maintained, okay, regularly maintained by asset to reflect life status of each barrier condition. Okay, this is the objective. Okay, then, so what is the a bow tie diagram is a powerful tool basically, right, for communicating how the control of major accident hazards is achieved. So bow tie analysis will include bow tie diagram for each hazard scenario, okay. What do you call MAH means major accident hazard scenario, presenting its causes, that is the threats, consequences, and potential escalation scenario, along with a barrier that prevent the control or mitigate the scenario. That's it, friends. Okay, that is the objective. Now we go into the uh, yeah, I think a few more objective. Yes, the barriers shall be further analyzed for their defeat mechanism, meaning called escalation factor, and corresponding measures to provide to overcome the barrier defeat mechanism. We call it as a escalation factor control. You got it, friends? So the barriers are further analyzed for their defeat mechanism. We call it as escalation factor and corresponding measures provided to overcome the barrier defeat mechanism called escalation factor controls. So the MAH scenario shall encompass both MAH and other MAH applicable to the facility. So the process of creating a bow tie is most effectively accomplished using a bow tie workshop, right? So it is important before the workshop to establish the scope and the context under which the bow tie is will be developed. That's it. That's the objective. Okay. Now we go into the methodology. Okay. So as I said, MAH identification. So MAH identification will be done by referring to the hazard, where MAH identification was already carried out, and include those identified MAH, okay, into the facility MAH risk register. So before this, we would have already, conducted hazard, all these, right? So there we would have identified this MAH, okay? So MAH means what? Major accident hazard. So those things we need to, include in the MAH register, risk register, okay? So that is the methodology. That is the first methodology. Then second is, what is the overview basically? I want to give you the overview, okay? See, the general focus of bow tie, uh, yeah, okay. The general focus of bow tie is managing major accident hazard, as working personnel need to understand how these may occur and the barriers and escalate factors controls deployed to prevent them. So the general focus of bow tie is managing the MAH, major accident hazards. So for this, bow tie diagram shall be developed a unit level or equipment specific MAH scenario. So a bow tie diagram shall be prepared for one MAH scenario, major accident hazard scenario, presenting its causes, consequences, potential escalation scenario, along with a barrier that prevent, detect, control, or mitigate the scenario. So this is what I explained in the previous, the first slide, in fact, right? So that is the, all this has to be in the bow tie diagram. So again, the barriers will further analyze for their mechanism, escalation factor, and measures provided to overcome the barrier defeat mechanism, escalation factor controls. So this is about the overview of the bow tie. Okay, I hope it's clear. Now we focus on the key elements to consider while developing the bow tie. One is the hazard, right? So here hazard refers to an operation, activity, or material that possess the potential to cause harm, right? The hazard plays a crucial role in delineating the extent of entire bow tie, right? So hazards that are too general can result in generic bow tie, which is why it is important to identify and address specific hazards. We can't go with the generic. Okay. So the practice is known to enhance the value as it elevates the level of intricacy in the remaining part of the bow tie. So this is all about the, the key elements while developing the bow tie, and which is, we are talking about the hazard. Now, another key element is a top event. Top event, what I explained in the first slide, right? The center part, that is a top event. So in my case, example, the water, right? Yeah, it's a compliance issue, right? Yes, quality, right? So top event occurs when there is a loss of control over the hazard or its containment or result in the release of the harmful potential. Harmful potential. Then another key element is a consequence. Here, consequence refers to adverse outcome that is about, causing a public health, right? In my example. So that may arise from a given event, potentially causing in harm or damage, right? Then another element is threat. Threat have the potential to cause a loss of control over a hazard, which can ultimately result in the occurrence of the top event. Okay. Right. Then we have another element, barrier. This is to prevent and mitigation. So barriers are present on the primary route, posing a risk to the top event or from the top event to the consequence. So barriers must have the capability on their own to prevent or mitigate a bow tie sequence and meet all the rules set validity requirements for a barrier to be effective, independent, and audible. See, I'm not giving any specific example because my intent is to update you with the concept, friends. If required, we will have one more session with the example. See, just for sake of here, what are all the barriers? In my case, see, I said I have a problem with the water quality issue. So I have a barrier in terms of online analyzer, right? And also I have a additional protection in terms of water sampling and testing, right? So all these are there. That is what I am actually meaning here. Okay. And it has to be independent. Okay. Right. Then another element is escalation factor. An escalation factor can apply to barrier on either side of the bow tie diagram. As you have seen, right? Both sides you have this, right? Yeah. Then for clarify a visual appearance, often they flow from left on the prevention side and from the right on the consequence sides. I just go back, you just visualize the previous slides, friends. I mentioned, right? So left on the prevention side, the left side, right? And right on the consequence side, right? But they're all the same in all other respect, actually. But, for clarify visual appearance, the flow from left on the prevention side and right on the consequence side. You got it, friends? Yes. Okay, then escalation factor control. Controls along with escalation factor pathway are called escalation factor control. So escalation factor is a condition that reduces the effectiveness of the barrier to which it is attached. So controls along with escalation factor are called escalation factor controls. So this is one of the point actually. Okay. So escalation control, right? Then we go into the bow tie workshop. Yeah, that is the workshop basically. Yes. So bow tie structure shall be developed before the bow tie workshop, and also all the relevant details of the technical site survey carried out along with the existing barrier, effectiveness, everything has to be detailed out before that workshop basically, right? Then we go into the workshop team actually. Workshop basically the bow tie analysis is conducted within a workshop involving all key stakeholders, like what we do for hazards and all, right? Yes. So including appropriate discipline engineers facilitated by independent facilitator along with the scribe. So facilitator and scribe shall be from the consultant side. Okay. So these are the points which we need to consider during the bow tie methodology. Now we go for the execution. Okay. First, what we have to do, we have to identify the hazard and top event. Hazard where you will identify during the hazard all these, right? Yes. Then we need to come out with the threat and consequence and also the barriers for each top event. Okay. Then Identify the preventive barrier. So what are all the barriers? In our case, we have online analyzer, right? The threat is quality issue and consequence is the water issue, the health, right? Problem, right? Then identify the mitigative barrier. So what is your mitigation? So in our case, the mitigation is water. This is about having a, chloride, chlorine dioxide system, that bromide control system, right? Yes. Then identify the escalation factor and escalation factor controls if anything is there. Okay. Yes. Then review the bow tie for the completeness and quality. If everything is done, then it's all over. Okay. That's all. These are the steps, friends. Okay. Of course, I know this is more of a concept. Yeah, you comment actually. Yeah, if this video is well received and if I get support, I will come out with a separate example, one exclusive session only on the bow tie with the example, perfect example. Okay, right. Then what is this? A report basically. Yeah, we are all done. Now report. The report contained bow tie diagram and all the findings of the bow tie workshop, including recommendation, safeguard, action tracking, including the target for the completion date. The report will be prepared for each production facility, station, operating unit, specific MA scenario, so that the identified and listed safeguard are not generic, but very specific to the MA scenario, right? So the identified inadequacies and recommendation must be captured. Okay. Then for traceability, the outcomes from meetings, workshop session, group session, agreement, all must be recorded in the MOM, shall be finalized and signed by all parties. Prepare an Excel-based live action tracking workbook for all the generated action that can be periodically updated. And also log any discrepancy noted in the operation, drawings, and technical documents. So this is about the report, friends. Now we conclude. Okay. So the bow tie analysis is a graphical illustration of causes of an event or risk to its potential consequences, presented in a concise and qualitative cause uh, consequent diagram. So it's an essential component of risk treatment planning, particularly in situation where there is a significant level of risk or when control effectiveness evaluated is inadequate. So that's all, friends, I have for this session. So just to recollect what we had covered, we talked about the intro and we talked about the objective, then we talked about the bow tie analysis methodology, wherein we've talked about MAH identification and overview of bow tie and key elements to consider while developing the bow tie, such as hazard, top event, consequence, threat, barrier, escalation, all these bow tie workshop team, everything. Then we also talked about the steps for execution of development of bow tie and finally the report and conclusion. So that's all I have. Thank you for watching and show your support, friends. I put a lot of effort in collating all the details. So show your support either way by pressing the thumbs up button or by subscribing or sharing with your friends. So also comment if you want to have a session with example. Okay. Thank you. Take care. Bye bye.